we found a way to reverse engineer the MCP architecture so that clients that don't use MCP can still use them. And that's what LiveKit is doing right now. Created through doing the file connection and the Supabase database is actually fully functional. And I wanted to add that here. And I can actually, it's kind of like a Discord almost, but I can actually see like the old conversations from the other users. I could say, hey, what's up? They'll see it in real time. I can like this emoji, and if I were to refresh it, I'm gonna refresh the page. It does go back to your original server that you created, but you still see my like still there. Pretty much when you first join, you'll see all these servers that you're able to join. It's a fully functional chat app, which used to take really long time to create real-time ones. Let's see if I can connect.
Hello, I'm Dr. Fullstack, your executive assistant. I specialize in journal management and database operations.
Okay, so I want you to create a new table in my Supabase database called test.
Could you please provide the details of the table structure, such as column names and data types that you
It will
like
be
in the test table?
a sample table for Stripe products where it'll have the price ID, product ID, and all the relevant metadata so that I can actually keep track of my products.
I'll create a new table called test with columns for price ID, product ID. It seems there was an error in applying the migration. Let me correct that. The test table has been successfully created in your Supabase database with columns for price ID, product ID, and
Bam.
metadata.
See it right there. Okay. So that happened via MCP and not using agent.ts here. And show you the code here and make sure everything's unwrapped. All right, so first thing that's happening here is I'm creating function context from a multi-MCP, which is pretty much grabbing whatever tools is in the MCP and mapping them out. But what is the actual MCP? So that one I'm importing from this file here, mcp-client here. I guess I have to accept these. Okay, so here, let me see how many lines of code is this. All right, it's about 400 lines of code. So here, notice that there is no Supabase import, right? I'm not saying import Supabase, whatever. I'm also not using any API that is for Supabase. As a matter of fact, let's type in Supabase. Okay, so what Supabase sends right away. This is Supabase's actual MCP server. Okay, this is the command you use for the MCP for using their MCP, Supabase MCP. This is all I needed to connect to Supabase's entire system. My agent. Can you believe that? To create all of this, the schemas and everything needed there. And the huge thing is, this is great for clients that already accept MCP. We're just using the command that Supabase wants us to. We're referencing our Supabase project, which is in my .env environment. You can hard code it if you want. And then the access token. That one's different than the API key, the service role. You've got to actually create an access token. It's just adding this to the multiple MCP client. Okay, so that's this huge class that we created here. So now we've officially introduced a new MCP. Okay, now that we've encapsulated that here, we've also hard coded the encapsulation of the journal server, which I'm going to deploy with you. And then we continue on. It's doing some initialization, but the biggest thing it's doing here is two things. One, a handshake, which it just wants to make sure that the tools actually exist and that's able to initialize, because sometimes it takes too long to initialize and then the LiveKit cuts out because it took longer than 30 seconds for you to like find out the tools or whatever. The second thing that it's doing is it's actually translating the MCP's function tool calling. I'm mapping over all those tools, listing them. Okay. And then redefining them in this manner here. Then I'm actually listing them so that I can make sure that I actually have the tools. And then I'm caching them so that they're available to the agent later on. We've also included a function for calling the actual tool so that the agent can also make sure it has the right schema on the fly. Schema to OpenAI schema. So it's going to take the MCP schema and it's going to break it down until it literally maps it out to look like the OpenAI schema. So here, create function context from MCP. So we're going to put the MCP client in there, and it's going to break down all the tools and then create the function calling execution block for them. And then at this point here, I can add, the journal entries, MCP, cool. But this is, my favorite. We're going to check if the access token there. You don't have to do that. And then literally add the soup-based MCP. Why don't we try another MCP to see if this works?